Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Buck? Here. Senator Daley? Here. Senator Hammond? Senator Lang? Senator Pazina? Senator Scheibel? Senator Stone? Chair Spearman.
Here. Please mark Senator Scheibel present when she arrives and Senator Hammond excused. Okay. So I'd like to welcome everybody who's here in Carson City and those who are joining us in Las Vegas and those of you who are joining us remotely by phone. These meetings can be viewed in several different ways: in person, in Carson City or Grant Sawyer, telephonically, and the instructions on that are on the bottom of our agenda. You can submit your written comment or you can share your opinion on the opinion application on Nellis. Any exhibits to the committee must be submitted in electronic format no later than 8:00 a.m. the day before the meeting. And let me just pause and say this. I think we were doing okay when we first started out, but now we're not doing so much. If you submit any amendments or any exhibits after 8:00, that's done for a reason, because our committee manager and our committee policy analysts have to make sure that that is included in the meeting notes. So I think someone may have submitted something last night and they won't be in the exhibits. We will try to get to them later, but that 8:00 is because we've got to make sure all the paperwork is in on time, and it's unfair to them to have to come in here at 6:30 in the morning and try to grab everything together. So I'd really appreciate if everybody would follow through on that. When testifying, please turn your microphone on and clearly state your name, spell please, and the entity that you represent at the beginning of your testimony. Speak clearly and project your voice, because as I said at the onset, there are people who are listening to us on the computer, and if you do not project your voice, they will not be able to hear. Reminder to all those who testify pursuant to Nevada Revised Statutes NRS 218E.085, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly misrepresent facts when testifying before a legislative committee, and a person who knowingly does so is guilty of a misdemeanor. In addition, both the chair and members may request any testifier to submit documentation supporting their testimony. All committee-related information is available on Nellis, which is accessible from the legislature's website, and we will take public comment at the end of the meeting. And please note that public comment is limited to 2 minutes, and it cannot contain anything that we discussed in the end of the bill hearings. Finally, please turn off all of your devices if they look like this, or if you paid $2,000 for it, just please turn it off. I'm pretty sure $2,000 equipment has an off button, so if you could do that, that would be great. So just before we begin, want to introduce a BDR number 54874, and the measure is sponsored by the Commerce Committee, and it's an act relating to barbering, authorizing an applicant for a license as a barber apprentice who fails to pass the examination required for licensure to retake the examination without fulfilling any additional requirements under certain circumstances, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. And a vote to introduce the BDR does not mean that you're voting for the BDR. It simply allows the committee to move forward with the hearing of the BDR. And so I'll entertain a motion now. Vice Chair Lang, and second by Senator Pazina. Any objections, questions? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? And the bill carries. Thank you. We will hear now Senate Bill 106, and Senator Gansert, Minority Leader Severs Gansert, I remember it. The measure revises provisions relating to ophthalmic dispensing. I learned a new word when I read your bill.
Ophthalmic.
Yeah. Ophthalmic, yeah.
I know. I have it written out a different way so I can spell
Okay.
pronounce it right. So thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for the hearing today on Senate Bill 106. For the record, my name is Heidi Severs Gansert. I'm the senator from District 15 in Washoe County. And with me, I have Chris Ferrari from Ferrari Reader Public Affairs. And we're also going to have someone on the phone, Chris Grimm, who's a government affairs representative for Warby Parker. Okay. As we all know, the growth of e-commerce and direct-to-consumer business has transformed the way we live and work. This growth can be attributed to the convenience, cost-effectiveness, and easy access to a wide range of products that online platforms offer. The online market for prescription glasses is no exception. offering an extensive range of frames, lenses, and styles that cater to a wide array of preferences and budgets. By providing detailed product information, virtual try-on tools, and easy-to-navigate interfaces, online retailers have successfully captured a significant share of the prescription eyewear market. The emergence of innovative, personalized eyewear solutions has further fueled the growth of internet sales for prescription glasses. Companies are now leveraging cutting-edge technologies such as 3D printing and artificial intelligence to offer highly customized products tailored to individual facial features, style preferences, and vision needs. These advances have led to a more diverse and personalized product offering, attracting new customers and solidifying the online market's position as a dominant force in the eyewear industry. This expanding eyewear market has benefited our state by creating new, well-paying jobs for our residents. In 2021, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, GOED, approved tax abatements for GAND Inc., which is an eyeglass manufacturer in Clark County doing business as Warburg Parker. The board approved $379,106 in partial abatements over 10 years, which is estimated to create 210 jobs in the first 5 years with an average pay of over $18 an hour. Overall, the economic impact is estimated to be over $200 million from Warburg Parker locating in southern Nevada. And I can tell you, I have 4 children, but 2 of my children have ordered through Warburg Parker and have had great glasses. They've been very happy with them. So at this time, what I want to do is turn this over to Chris Ferrari, and he'll also introduce Chris Grimm so they can cover the details of the bill, and you'll see there's an amendment online or at your desk, which they'll be covering. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Sievers-Gansert, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Chris Ferrari on behalf of Warby Parker in support of Senate Bill 106 as amended. I would like to thank the Senator for her work on this measure. Warby Parker was founded in 2010 to provide designer eyewear at affordable prices. I'm also a customer. The company serves millions of customers using technology to conveniently offer prescription eyewear online and in stores nationwide, including one in Las Vegas, which is in Senator Dondero Loop's district. In 2020, they chose Las Vegas, as the Senator indicated, to open their first West Coast manufacturing distribution center. It was a very competitive process, and Nevada won, so it was a big deal for Las Vegas. Since that time, they're employing hundreds of Nevadans, and they built a 69,000 square foot state-of-the-art lab in Senator Scheibel's district. The company also has a buy a pair, give a pair program, and to date, they've given away more than 10 million pairs of glasses around the world in more than 50 countries. Not everybody was thrilled about Warby Parker's arrival, and before formally opening their manufacturing operations, the state's Board of Dispensing Opticians started seeking regulations really aimed directly at Warby Parker. You know, who is this company? What are they doing? And we understood the company's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a cutting-edge company, new technologies, new ways of doing business. So we reached out proactively to them and tried to work on something from a regulatory perspective to find some middle ground. And while we haven't been successful in doing so, I'm happy to say that the board's executive director and their new counsel are in the audience today. And while they will be opposing the bill, since November of last year, we've had very productive conversations about how to find that middle ground and make sure that the regulatory oversight is sufficient while still allowing Warby Parker to employ and to provide glasses for people all over the country. We would like to impress upon the committee that passage of this bill is very important for Warby Parker's continued Nevada and national operations. And Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to introduce Chris Grimm, who is the Director of Government Affairs for Warby Parker, participating remotely.
Please continue.
Thank you, Chris. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Chris Grimm, G-R-I-M-M, representing Warby Parker, testifying in support of the bill as amended. The amendment to the bill, I'll just start there. There are 3 main provisions. Number 1, it includes a definition of design as it relates to dispensing glasses. There's currently no definition in statute. We're very close to an agreement with the board related to these definitions and terms as they appear in statutes and regs. There's a second provision that would remove the requirement that only a licensee can manage a store. We're also very close to an agreement with the board on language here that would maintain the requirement that only a licensee can manage a store. Again, an optical retail establishment, if you would, but creates a little flexibility. And I said we're in a really good place there and really close to an agreement. And then the third provision creates some regulatory clarity around glasses that are sold out of state. Again, when these statutes were originally drafted, online glasses sales were not a thing, or certainly not very popular. And we are also very close to an agreement with the board on creating essentially a whole new regulatory structure around this that would be the first in the country that really regulates direct-to-consumer glasses sales. As Chris Ferrari had said, over the past few months, we've had a very productive dialogue with the Board of Dispensing Opticians. We're really thankful for their time and efforts to work with us on this. We're really hopeful that we will come to an agreement very, very shortly. And not just on these issues, on a host of other issues that the board is looking to update on the regulatory structure as well. So we feel really good about where we are and the process to date. I appreciate everyone's time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Additional people for the presentation? That's it? Okay. Committee members, questions? Senator Stone and Senator Daly.
Thank you for the presentation. This is kind of a new concept, online ordering of ophthalmic products. Typically, when you go to a optometrist, they're not only checking for your visual issues, but they're checking for other diseases, glaucoma and things like that. So has the technology come about that allows these online retailers to perform some of the same tasks diagnostically that an optometrist can in a bricks and mortar facility in Nevada?
I'm happy to tackle that question, Madam Chair, if I may. The bill in question.
State your name. Your name. Your name. Your name.
Christopher Grimm.
Yeah, thank you. Just like you to do that each time so the secretaries can keep up, okay? Thank you.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. The bill in question and the regulatory structure here is around the dispensing of glasses, not around the practice of optometry or ophthalmology. So this is just sort of after someone has a prescription and they're looking to buy glasses. This is not a telemedicine bill. This is just around the dispensing of glasses once someone has a prescription.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
Senator Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my question, I think, is pretty easy because I'm looking at the amendment, and I think you addressed my concern. But the question I had was on how in Section 6, subsection 5 and 6, which you're deleting now, taking out, and just has the one paragraph there. So, and I think the gentleman down south just answered the other half of the question is, so he's receiving here online someone that's received a prescription, possibly in another state, they're going to make it according to that prescription or whatever frames they ordered and ship it off. So anything, those transactions that are happening in the other state are going to be regulated by that other state. So, and there's those provisions in there, like whatever they do in Virginia, they do in Virginia, right?
Correct. The language that we're working on with the board will really just focus around the manufacturing, so it won't extend the board's authority of dispensing into what happens in, say, Virginia, where I'm located, or another state. It will really just put some guardrails in place around the manufacturing that is taking place within the state.
Thank you. That was Chris Grimm for the record.
I was just going to say that.
There's no questions? Okay, Senator Seaver's answered. If you all will move back, and I'll call for anyone who is here in support of Senate Bill 106. We will go here in Carson City first, and then move down to Las Vegas, and then we'll move to the phones. So anyone here in Carson City in support? Anyone in Las Vegas in support? BPS, is there anyone on the phones in support?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 106, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. There are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. So we'll move next to opposition. Anyone in opposition of Senate Bill 106 here in Carson City? And if you're in Las Vegas and you're in opposition, please come up. There's 2 chairs available. So 1 chair available now. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good to see you. For the record, Trey Abney with the Abney Talcon Group, here today representing the Nevada Board of Dispensing Opticians. We do appreciate Senator Sievers-Gansert and Mr. Ferrari and Mr. Grimm for bringing this bill to clarify the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Opticians as it relates to this new technology. We want to clarify for the committee that the Board of Dispensing Opticians has been actively engaged in modernizing our procedures, our practices, and in fact, our laws and regulations. We have been working additionally with Assemblywoman Angie Taylor on a bill that will clean up the NRS language that governs ophthalmic dispensing. We've been actively working with the governor's office to ensure that we are in compliance with his recent executive orders and that our laws, rules, and regulations are modern, easy to understand, and ensure professional standards are upheld, while at the same time making sure that we impose no unreasonable barriers to entry to this field. And we have had several productive conversations with representatives from Warby Parker on how we can modernize the NRS that governs this occupation, while at the same time acknowledging that their company has a modern process that was not contemplated when our board and regulatory scheme were created years ago. However, this bill before you today does not represent any of those efforts. We need a comprehensive approach, one that modernizes and improves our board processes, recognizes that times and technology have changed, and most importantly, ensures that patients and consumers are protected. It is critical that patients who receive these FDA-regulated medical devices are properly treated and given professional care and consultation. Licensed opticians are a critical part of eye health and serve as a last line of defense in some cases. It is also critical that we ensure that our laws and regulations protect Nevada jobs and the licensed optician professionals in our state. In closing, Madam Chair, and as I mentioned earlier, we are working with Assemblywoman Angie Taylor on a more comprehensive solution that will meet the needs of our professional optician workforce and Warby Parker and other online sellers. And we vow to continue working on that process and hope the chair in this committee and this body encourages us to continue that approach. And I should mention that we do have the executive director of the board here, and I know there are a few professional practitioners who will be phoning in and testifying as well if you have any specific questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to speak in opposition? We'll go now to Las Vegas. Okay, come on up. Anyone here that's going to speak in opposition? There are 3 chairs. If you all will come up and occupy the 3 chairs now. We're going to go down to Las Vegas. So 2 chairs will be occupied. There's 1 more. Anyone else in the audience who's coming to speak in opposition? Okay, thank you.
Are you ready for?
Las Vegas.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is James Morris, and I am General Counsel and Executive Director for the American Board of Opticianry. We provide the minimum competency examinations for your state to verify that opticians know what they're doing before they engage in activities with regard to the opticians. I sent a letter in on Saturday. I'm hoping that made each one of your files and was timely submitted. That letter sets forth a little bit about me, but I did want to explain a little bit more. I'm here because of my son. I'm here because of the drastic impact that an optician had on my son's entire life and my family's entire life. So I take this very seriously. What you're being asked to do is to remove safeguards and guardrails from opticianry and from ophthalmic devices because an online seller wants to save money and not have an optician involved at the end of the line. If you've looked at the news lately, you've seen all kinds of critical issues about eye drops, about bacterial infections causing death, causing blindness, causing other issues. An optician at the end of the line, an optician that's involved in the care treatment of a patient is critical to make sure that those types of activities don't happen. What Warby Parker's trying to do is to obtain an unfair competitive advantage over any other organization. Some of the things in this bill are completely out of line. For example, in section 7, paragraph 5, it says if an intended wearer is outside of the state of Nevada, that they don't have to comply with any of Nevada's rules. What is an intended wearer? What is an intended wearer outside of the state of Nevada? There's no definition. So if I come to Nevada and I walk into a brick and mortar location and I say, hey, I'd like to have a pair of glasses. Oh, where do you reside? I reside in Lexington, Kentucky. Oh, well then I don't have to have an optician look at these. Let me go ahead and do that for you. What they've done is they come into your state and they say, we're manufacturing in your state. Keep in mind, they came in knowing what the statutes were, knowing what the rules were, and yet they asked now for an exemption after they built their facility based upon the statutes. Then they go to Virginia, and the question from the senator about, well, what happens in other states? Well, what they're doing in Virginia and other locations is saying, whoa, you don't have any regulatory authority over this because we manufacture in a different state. So you don't have authority in the state we manufacture in, and you don't have authority in the state we deliver in. That way we can avoid any opticianry regulations. An optician at the end of the line, at the end of Warby Parker's line, inspecting these glasses, verifying that they meet appropriate prescriptions, verifying that they are correct pursuant to the prescription is critical. And I'll go one step further. They're trying to avoid, with regard to all of this, the ability to have regular inspections by an optician, looking at the patient, verifying what the patient's needs are based upon the prescription given. So online is very concerning to us with regard to the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of your state. And keep in mind, they're doing the same thing with an East Coast manufacturing facility. If someone orders out of that East Coast and ships to your state, they're asking that that not be regulated either into your state, because they don't have to comply with any regulatory affairs in your state if they direct ship to the consumers. So this is a very serious issue, a very troubling issue, because what they're doing is they're putting their profits before the health, safety, and welfare, and they're taking away jobs. Because what they're asking to do is to not have opticians involved in their high-tech laboratory. They're saying that a computer can do the job of an optician, and that there's no need for you to be troubled or concerned about the fact that an optician is not involved in inspecting to verify that it meets appropriate prescriptions, that the PD measurement, pupillary distance measurement, is correct, that the segment height is correct, that other aspects of the glasses actually meet the specific prescription issued by the optometrist or ophthalmologist. So we are adamantly against this bill. The modifications to this statute will impair the health, safety, and welfare not only of your citizens, but of other citizens. And what they're trying to do is to play both ends to the middle, just like I think it was Senator Stone indicated. They're trying to play this where the manufacturing state says, well, if it's going out of state, don't worry about it. Then they go to the receiving state and say, you don't have any control because it was manufactured elsewhere. So please don't allow that to happen. I flew in last night, midnight, to be here in person to request that you very seriously consider the modifications being sought, the impact on jobs, the loss of opticianry-related jobs, and the fact that what they're trying to do with this manufacturing facility is actually to take away jobs in Nevada and put them into low-wage manufacturing only with no expertise and no oversight. What they're doing is taking your opticians, your well-trained expert opticians in your state, and you have the highest level of training for opticians in the entire country. And what they're trying to do is to have the manufacturing facility here so they can claim that they're falling under your Nevada statute and then ask you exempt us from that statute. It's unfair, it's improper, it does impact jobs, and it does impact the health, safety, and welfare. So we request that you oppose the bill and that you not call it back up for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, and I'm just going to admonish everyone, we have 3 bills to hear today, and if someone has already said what you want to say, it's okay to come and say ditto, but we'll stay in Las Vegas and then we'll come back up here to Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Corey Roveri, Nevada Licensed Dispensing Optician number 735, and Second Vice President of the Opticians Association of Nevada. I assist in the daily operation of New Outlook Optical in our 33rd year of service to this community, and we're one of the few remaining independent opticians in our state. I am successfully responsible for final inspection of each and every patient order before it leaves our office. These patients include Nevada Medicaid and Medicare patients, current U.S. senators and their families, infants to adults, special needs patients of all ages, including those with cranial abnormalities requiring a custom 3D printed frame, doctors, nurses, and other first responders. SB 106 elicits serious concern regarding the patient health and safety within our profession, with implications reaching far beyond our state. At my practice, we are the experts that doctors and national foundations refer their patients to in order to receive the highest level of care. I've submitted 5 lab invoices as exhibits. These belong to patients we have treated this calendar year and prove the necessity for proper verification of all optical medical devices by a licensed dispensing optician. Exhibits 2 and 4, those prescriptions each have 7 diopters of base-out prism ground into progressive multifocal lenses. Meanwhile, Exhibit 5 is showing a well over 20 diopters of correction. I'm the last line between these patients and an incorrect order from a large corporate lab, and I cannot convey to you the amount of error I currently receive and am forced to correct from these labs. These incorrect orders are sent by the same manufacturing employees who, under this bill, would be allowed to dispense an incorrect prescription without final inspection by an expert on the subject. To undermine an entire profession devoted to safeguarding patient health and safety for a single special interest entity seems cruel and underhanded to our patients, regardless of where they intend to use the product. I respectfully request that you oppose SB 106 to protect the well-being of ophthalmic patients across the country. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll come back up to, Carson City now, and then we'll go to the phones, okay? Carson City.
Good morning. My name is Tim Kappa, Timcappa, and I'm a licensed optician up here in Reno, Nevada. And I think previous testimony was very well spoken, and instead of repeating that, I will kind of touch base on what I do as a licensed optician, final inspecting eyewear, as these revisions are updating to clarify what I do. Much like the responsibilities a pharmacist has with ensuring prescriptions are accurate and that a patient has been educated and understands how to use the prescription, dispensing optician follows these same principles. Every single day I final inspect eyewear. We're all aware of ANSI, the American Institute of National Safety, and that's something that I take very seriously. I am passionate about this, and the way this bill is written, I believe it jeopardizes public safety. The new revisions does clarify what an optician does, and then in Section 6, Section 6 of the existing statute starts to list certain occupations and circumstances that a dispensing license does not apply to. On this list are surgeons, other doctors, their employees. Also on this list include the sales of non-prescription eyewear. And what this bill is doing is trying to add to this list of exemptions for prescription eyewear that is intended for patients outside of the state of Nevada, to kind of bypass the final inspection process, which has risk and consequences. We have several of these people that would be operating machinery, operating vehicles, aircrafts that can very well come back into Nevada and potentially cause a serious injury or even death. So I feel the way that this is written is a public safety issue. I am not entirely against online sales and the advancement of automated equipment, but equipment can fail, and there is human error as well. We risk somebody wearing prescription eyewear that has the wrong prescription. Most likely, in a perfect world, they would say, oh, I can't see anything out of this, but there's several people that I deal with every day that just accept the eyewear as is, and, you know, they risk taking a fall or getting into a collision. And I just ask the legislators to reject this bill as written. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to ask if, again, if anyone has already said it, and I'm going to try to do about 2.5 minutes, and if we have more time, then I'll bring you back up. I just want to be respectful of everybody here. Is that okay? We still friends? Okay, all right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Christopher Carlisle. I make a living as a licensed dispensing optician in the state of Nevada, license number 612. As a licensed optician, it is my duty to ensure spectacles are made precisely to what a qualified doctor or optometrist prescribes. To obtain one's license in the state of Nevada, a comprehensive and rigorous training must be undergone to successfully pass a series of certifications to obtain state licensure. Once obtained, there is an obligation and responsibility to follow and uphold the state of Nevada Board of Dispensing Opticians' mission, which is to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare by effectively regulating the practice of opticianry. This cannot be overlooked or understated. From my perspective and licensure background, allowing individuals to oversee the manufacturing of essential medical devices who have not received the proper training nor held the same ethical standards to oversee the manufacturing of essential medical devices would not be in the best interest of public health, safety, or welfare. To do so would not only be reckless, but antithetical to the mission that guides and regulates our specialized work with respect to how we best serve and protect the public on an everyday basis. To this point, it seems unlikely that companies who do not closely work or consult with licensed dispensing opticians are aware of the harmful and long-lasting consequences of wearing an incorrectly made pair of spectacles. Having worked in optics for over a decade, one thing is apparent: spectacles that have been made incorrectly can have a lasting impact to an individual's health and overall well-being. Without contingencies in place to enforce stringent standards that LDOs are trained to abide by, outside organizations and interest groups can produce and sell subpar spectacles for profit that can introduce lifelong optical conditions, such as a need for induced prism or irregular optical centers. Increasing the probability of distributing incorrectly made spectacles to the public is not only an issue of jeopardizing visual health, but also one that can become a financial burden to families as well. Licensure ensures a second layer of protection for consumers, such as that a licensed optician can verify and reject poorly made glasses, and in doing so, help to protect individuals who purchase spectacles from any source within the state of Nevada, as well as any spectacles made in Nevada. It is my hope that licensed dispensing opticians remain an integral occupation in Nevada to continue to serve and protect the public with the utmost respect, integrity, care, and compassion to diverse populations of all ages in our communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Christy Lasag-Mayer, licensed dispensing optician 546. A little about my history. I began my journey into opticianry December 2008. It quickly struck me how my sponsor and mentors demonstrated an absolute passion for vision and eye health. It was very clear to me that this was not just merely a job, but a responsibility to ensure the safety and welfare, not only of our patients, but for everyone that person is in contact with. I learned to treat every pair of glasses I inspected to be scrutinized for accuracy and properly fitted, as though they were being dispensed to the people I loved most in the world. It is with this passion that I ask you to hear my testimony in opposition to SB 106. I feel my examples relate to this proposal and the very undesirable impact it would have on the safety, well-being, and health of everyone it touches. For 14 years, I have been so fortunate to be able to live my passion of designing, making, verifying, dispensing fitting glasses, not only in Nevada, but across the country and around the world as a participant in many charitable site missions. On these clinics, our high standard of care did not diminish, regardless of where we were. I'll never forget my experience with a 5-year-old girl from Chiang Mai, Thailand. I tested her visual acuity, and she shook her head repeatedly as I pointed to increasingly larger and bolder letters, higher and higher, until we reached the very top. Still unable to verify the letter E, I peeled the chart off the wall and slowly inched closer. Still nothing. It wasn't until I was within arm's length that I finally stopped the test, and it was later in that day that I found out that not only was this beautiful little girl significantly hearing impaired, but her very first eye exam revealed a prescription of -16. To put simply, clear vision stops at just a few inches. My eyes filled with tears, and I went to the waiting room where our patients waited for their glasses, and sitting on the floor in front of a blue chair, she rested her head on her arm, her face 3 inches from the page she was coloring. That's how close she had to be to see. Finally, it was her turn. The glasses made by professionals and checked for accuracy were properly fitted by licensed dispensing opticians. After careful alignment, she was asked how many fingers she could see. 2 little fingers immediately went up. That tiny gesture was met with overwhelming cheers, applause, and happy tears. As you can tell, this experience is a happy example of what well-trained professionals can accomplish in changing the life of one person, regardless of where they call home. I'm so proud of the high standard of care she received, and I'm happy to say that I have countless examples of that same high standard being implemented in my day-to-day activities as a licensed dispensing optician here. While I'd love to focus on the positive, the reality of my second experience may leave you with a little bit of a different feeling. Recently, a pair of glasses sat in front of me for inspection. The prescription in each eye were very different, but both held about a total power of about -26. What many don't know is a slight deviation in how these lenses are produced can cause unwanted prism, resulting in blur, double vision, headaches, eye strain, and nausea. Had these glasses been unverified and given to the patient, they would have been useless, as the lenses were not only switched right eye for left and left eye for right, but had also been inserted backwards. I ask you for a second to imagine the intended wearer of these glasses was your son, your daughter, your parent, and your loved one, sent without inspection and verification for accuracy. As much as we would like to think this is an isolated incident, rejecting substandard eyewear that fall outside of ANSI standards and can cause the same previously mentioned difficulties to the wearer is a daily occurrence for all dispensing licensed opticians. It is our mission and responsibility to ensure the eyewear people receive are accurate in power and placement as to not cause difficulty and danger to the intended recipient. While accurate measurements and the precise manufacturing of lenses is essential, it is just part of the equation for clear vision. The importance of verification by a person properly trained, tested, and licensed in optics cannot be overstated. Additionally, dispensing and adjustment requires years of careful training, instruction, practice, supervision, and testing for proficiency in proper alignment, fitting, and troubleshooting, and interpretation of symptoms to apply relevant and effective adjustment techniques. To put these responsibilities in untrained hands or to bypass them altogether puts not only the patient at risk, but the public as well.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Can you submit the rest of it in writing?
Absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate it. Going down to Las Vegas. And we're going to go
Hi.
2.5 minutes. And so if you have something to read, then read the important parts. And if someone's already said what you're going to say, then ditto is okay. Okay?
Hi, my name is Jeff Zeitler. I'm a dual licensed dispensing optician in the state of Washington and more recently in the state of Nevada. I am the past president of the Optician Association of Washington, and I currently sit on the board of directors as well as the legislative committee for the Opticians Association of Nevada. My career started in 2008 when my beloved, who passed away in January of 2017, encouraged me to become a licensed dispensing optician, and she was also a licensed dispensing optician. She showed me how rewarding this career can be and how I would help patients, and so many patients. So I decided to attend Seattle Central College, the School of Opticianry, and graduated with high honors in 2011. Without this education, I would not be here today. I would not have the knowledge or the skill set that it would take to help our patients look good, see well, and help them understand what's going on with their eyes. I always inform our patients and the general public not to take their health and their eyes for granted. Once gone, they are gone. There's no replacement. There's numerous times when I analyze the patient's RX and the history and refer them back to their doctors, and later on they thank me and their doctors thank me as well. We are the last line of defense to protect our patients from harm. We are like pharmacists to the doctors and a nurse to the doctor. The bill is so vague and it allows for interpretation for one company to bypass our laws to protect the public from harm. Senators, you or someone you know wears prescription glasses. To prove a point, if we switch them out left from right, it will be uncomfortable and you won't be able to do your job. Imagine a patient who was given the wrong prescription for each eye. Would you trust them getting behind the wheel of a car after a long day of work with those glasses? No, of course not. They will strain their eyes. So with your permission, with the help of a licensed dispensing optician in Carson City, can approach the bench and swap out your glasses for their glasses, and tell me if you can do your job and drive home safely without doing the public any harm. Who's responsible? Who's responsible if someone gets in an accident because of an incorrect prescription? Or someone gets hurt, and God forbid someone dies? Who's going to be responsible? We are the last line of defense, and we want to protect the public
Thank
from
you.
any hurt or injury.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can you submit the rest of your testimony in writing, please? Staying in Las Vegas, and please be mindful of others who want to speak. So 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Someone's got a microphone on. Down south?
Hi, my name is Pam.
Hold on just a minute. Can you make sure, once you finish speaking, make sure the microphone is turned off?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Pamela Machello. I'm here to express my concern over your recent proposal that would affect the Board of Opticians in the great state of Nevada. As an experienced, knowledgeable, and passionate optician who has been in the field throughout my years of experience, I have observed the benefit that the Board of Opticians provide to our community, and I believe that its removal of practices would have detrimental effects in the health and safety of our citizens. I'll keep it sweet and short. As an example, a moment I will never forget in my career was the time that a mother came in with her child and received a pair of glasses from an online company. The child reacted so bad to the glasses that he threw up in the back seat. When I verified the measurements, I discovered that the measurements were not correct. That company was Warby Parker. The Board of Opticians serves a crucial role in ensuring the opticians in our state are properly licensed and trained to provide quality eye care services to the public. We as opticians are responsible for setting and enforcing standards of practice for all patients in the state. This ensures that all patients are held to the same high standards and all patients receive consistent and reliable care. With that said, I strongly oppose to this bill and ask you to reconsider moving forward to continue caring for our patients in Nevada. Thank you.
BPS, let's go to the phones now. And if there's anyone else down south or up here that wants to testify in opposition, please come to the table. And I'm just going to ask everyone to please be mindful of the time. I know there are a lot of people who are very passionate about this, and I'm trying to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. So if you're mindful of the time, then that will allow us to accomplish that goal. Anyone else down here in anyone else here in Carson City? Okay, so we'll go to Las Vegas.
Madam Chairman and Board, my name is Arliss Weiskup, and I am Nevada Dispensing License number 249. I earned my license on October 14th, 1992. I am from Colorado. Colorado is an unlicensed state. In 1981, I was working in a restaurant in a small Colorado town, and a friend of mine asked me to run his optical store for 3 weeks while he went on vacation. Well, I knew that I liked sunglasses, so I did it. I had no optical experience, and the only brief optical knowledge I had was what Philip told me the morning before he left for his trip. When the first optical customer came in to buy glasses, I froze. I didn't know what to do or where to start. So I called the owner of the lab that made our RX lenses 90 miles away
introduce myself, and he and his wonderful family were kind enough to walk me through every eyeglass sale I made over the next 3 weeks. Things like that happen in unlicensed states. I moved to Las Vegas in 1991 and was hired by an optical corporation, got into the apprentice program, completed my apprentice hours, studied for and passed the ABO, the NCLE, and the Nevada State Board exam for ophthalmic dispensers. I have worked in Nevada as a full-time ophthalmic dispenser for 32 years. I have taken 14 credit hours of education each year. That means I have served the residents of Nevada with 64,000 hours of my optical life and 448 hours of optical education. The residents of Nevada receive quality service and help from myself and every dedicated license like me. Now, I ask you, today, if I am going to sit down with your grandmother and sell her glasses, your grandmother who perhaps has glaucoma or is recuperating from a detached retina, has macular degeneration, cataracts, or a cataract surgery that didn't go so well, is light sensitive or has dry eyes, on and on. Would you rather have the Arliss of 1981 in Colorado, who knew she liked sunglasses, helping her? Or would you rather have the Arliss sitting before you today with 64,000 hours of optical work experience and 448 hours of optical education? If this bill passes, all Nevada residents will suffer from lack of quality service.
Thank you. Next, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, please.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Nagati Foreman. I'm a consumer as well as a licensed optician, number 557. I'm part of the Board of Opticians Association of Nevada, which I take pride in. I've been wearing glasses since the age of 9. I'm now 40 years of age, so I've been wearing corrective lenses for more than half of my life. I'm a nearsighted person with astigmatism and presbyopic. My total corrective power is a minus 13 in diopters. If you don't know what that means, which many don't, it means without corrective lenses or contacts, I cannot see past my eyelashes. I'm not a person that feels comfortable ordering glasses online because I am a consumer. I don't know how they're being verified, and my prescription cannot be off more than a millimeter. As previously said, you can experience great discomfort. I cannot take any chances with my vision because I literally cannot function. Additionally, as an optician, I've personally received and inspected glasses from labs throughout the nation and as well as other countries that are incorrect and cannot be dispensed to the consumers here in Nevada because the medical device does not meet ANSI standards. Also, just like everyone said, you have to trust your pharmacist to prescribe what the doctor prescribes to you and dispense to you. You have to trust your optician to do the same, or any manufacturer that's going direct to consumer dispensing medical devices. Finally, Nevada licensed opticians are crucial to the checks and balance of our consumers across this great nation, not just Nevada. Our opticians care for all Americans, not just Nevadans. Senators, please think about the health, safety, and welfare of our patients, which opticians protect.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the next, there's one here and there's one in Las Vegas. We're going to run out of time pretty soon, so if you'll just keep it to about 2 minutes and just the salient points. I understand the concern of all the opticians, and I thank everyone for your patience and for your participation. I just know we've got 2 more bills to hear before we get to floor, okay? So let's come up here in Carson City, and then I'll go down to Las Vegas. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Dana Whitford, license number 680 here in Nevada, Reno. I wanted to say that I started in New York, not New York City, but upstate New York. That's where I got my college education as a licensed optician. In New York, your license as an optician is considered a trade. Just like a plumber, electrician, there's all sorts of laws that go with that. And I wanted to say I was afforded the unique experience of a college education in opticianry at Erie Community College in the state of New York, receiving an associate's in science and optical dispensing. I have fabricated lenses, fit contact lenses, and filled complex glasses, prescriptions written by optometrists and ophthalmologists alike. My education and licensing has afforded the opportunity to continually learn about eye health, eye maintenance, and new exciting advances in vision technology. Through completing education and licensing CEs as well as personal interest, I am educated in not just the dispensing of glasses and contact lenses, but in the complex care of the eye. Through schooling and continuous education, I have not only learned about what pertains to my dispensing licensing as an optician, but subjects that include communicating effectively with either a doctor of optometry or a medical doctor of ophthalmology. I have filled many different prescriptions, not just from other states, but from other countries. Without my education, experience, and the licensing board supervision on education, I would not know how to read an optical prescription, identify prescription errors that may need more clarification, identify the meaning of different eye diseases and how they affect the filling of glasses prescriptions, fit contact lenses, and identify the issues that may come in the future without proper patient training, as well as identifying hidden issues with the examination of fabricated glasses. I believe the passing of this bill will restrict the education of opticians and may hinder our patients' need to be served by a professional that has the training required to fulfill the high expectations of the public from any state or country.
Thank you. There was one person at the table when we came back up here, and I'm going to ask anyone else who wants to testify either in opposition or support, please submit your testimony in writing. Okay, so the person that was at the table when I came up here in Las Vegas, we only have time for one more, and then I've got to get to the phones, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Senators of the Committee on Commerce and Labor. My name is Jennifer Letton, and I'm licensed optician 547, testifying on my own behalf and not on behalf of the board. I come before the Honorable Committee to oppose SB 106 and request that SB 106 not get a second reading and ends here today. The proposed amendments to NRS 637 Nevada Opticians through SB 106 would undermine the role of the Governor's Office of Economic Development, which is to promote a robust, diversified, and prosperous economy in Nevada to stimulate business expansion and retention, encourage entrepreneurial enterprise, attract new business, and facilitate community development. Senators, I ask you why the lawmakers of this great state of Nevada should allow a business which has the smallest footprint possible, one retail and one lab location in the entire state, to have such an invasive influence on our statutes or regulations. Warby Parker was offered tax abatements with our former Governor Sisolak, and based on not having a good record of accomplishment in creating jobs, I believe that this company does not intend to create career opportunities with weighted hourly wages the company promised the GOED committee. I request that Nevada legislators should look into how many jobs Warby Parker has really created since opening its business in the state of Nevada. It is my belief as a provider that no matter where you reside, you, the consumer, deserve the same quality and care that Nevada consumers are afforded. Why should the citizens of Nevada or the honorable lawmakers that represent them allow any corporate entity to influence Nevada jobs market with monetary force or have a say in how medical devices are facilitated? Again, I ask that the committee not allow SB 106 to have a second reading and end here today. Thank you to the Committee on Commerce and Labor and for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you. We'll go now to the phones, those in opposition.
If you would like to testify in opposition to SB 106, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and all senators. My name is Leslie Quinn, and I oppose SB 106. Patient contact with experts in their field of healthcare is of utmost importance. Ophthalmic dispensers are of critical importance as most of us are born with only 2 eyes. Our eyes have over 2 million working parts. Our eyes improve brain focus, necessary to support against anxiety and psychological disorders. SB 106 is continued evidence of drive-through healthcare. I'd like to add a huge ditto to all previous speakers in opposition to SB 106. I urge all legislators to oppose SB 106. Please help us to keep our corneas safe. Thank you.
Public line is open and working. There are no callers at this.
Thank you. So we'll come back up here. Neutral. Neutral. Anyone here in Carson City want to testify neutral? Anyone in Las Vegas, neutral? VPS, anyone on the phone, neutral?
If you would like to testify in neutral for SB 106, please press star 9 now to take your place in. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this.
Okay, there are no callers at this time. Thank you. Senator Severs-Gansert, you want to come on back up and closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, and I appreciate the testimony that you just heard. But I want to remind you that this isn't about the eye exam. This is not about the examination or the diagnosis or about the prescription that you get. This is about dispensing the glasses. Warburg Parkey is very reputable. They're all over the country. They've been doing this. As I mentioned, I had a couple of family members. To me, it's about access to care. So people can afford to get glasses. Sometimes when you go in to certain places to get glasses, it may cost you $300. It may cost you $500. I know my children we've gone to Costco for a long time because there's so many of us who require glasses, and it's a very cost-effective way to be able to get glasses. But also we've used Warburg Parker. I also think it's important to state that it's not like pharmacy. A pharmacist has to look at the interactions of medicine. They also have compound pharmacies, which is much more complex. Opticians do not prescribe glasses. They are not the labs that create the lenses. They don't do any of that work, so it's very different than pharmacy. Also, there was a mention of working with the board, and they have been working for the board for months and months and months and months. And there was a mention that there may be a clean bill. Well, I asked for amendment. No amendment was provided to me by the opposition. I asked about the clean bill, and I've not seen anything. So this has been very difficult for this organization that was brought to Nevada to be able to produce lenses and to send them across the U.S. And I think this bill before you is extremely reasonable and really will help with access to care so that folks can afford to get glasses and afford to get what they need. If there is a complex prescription, of course, you can go to another provider, but I think this is a very reasonable bill, and I appreciate your consideration today. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a minute. So you said there is no collaboration in terms of amendment?
Well, what was mentioned, I was contacted by opposition, and I asked if they had an amendment for me to bring today. They've talked about working together, and they have been working together, but I asked, is there something that we need to add to the bill today, and the answer was no. They said they're going to have another bill, as was mentioned from the other side, that's a clean bill, but I don't know what that is. Right now we have an organization that's in the state, that was brought to the state, that's dispensing glasses very successfully, and if they need something else, I wanted to know what that was, because as we all work together, we try to work bills out before we show up here. So I think great progress has been made. They're continuing to talk, but when I specifically asked, what else do you need, I didn't get anything. So thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 106. Senator Danyate, are you ready? Senate Bill 203.
Thank you, Chair Spearman, and good morning to the members of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. For the record, my name is Fabian Doñate, and I'm proud to represent Senate District 10. I come before you to speak on Senate Bill 203, which is an act relating to pharmacy and prohibiting a wholesaler or manufacturer of drugs, medicines, chemicals, or medical devices from offering or giving a gift. Before I begin my presentation, I want to make a quick statement about some of the content I will be covering today. By no means is this bill presentation a direct remark related to any individual act or individual thereof. My goal today is to have an open and honest conversation on the activities that I have experienced personally as a health administrator and some of the circumstances that our clinical providers go through each day. As many of you know, outside of the legislature, I am proud of my service as a health administrator. As a health administrator, I get the chance to solve some of the problems that our patients experience on every day on the front lines of a healthcare delivery system. And given my background in primary care, for the most part, I get the opportunity to experience different situations on how our healthcare system interacts between varying institutions, and consequently, I get a bird's eye view on what exactly is going on. Last year, I had the opportunity to manage several health facilities all throughout the Las Vegas area, and one of the encounters that I regularly experienced was with regard to pharmaceutical representatives. Every morning, I would walk into work ready to greet my staff, and around 9 a.m., I would receive a request from my staff to speak with a recurrent visitor to our office, a pharmaceutical rep waiting to speak to my provider and schedule a lunch. Because this was my first time working in primary care, I didn't really think much about it. Every time they came through the door, I would welcome them into our office. That was part of my responsibility, and I wanted to make sure that my providers had that relationship. It wasn't until 3 or 4 months in that I realized how recurrent the system was set up to be, and then it hit me. We spend a great amount of time scheduling lunches at our office, around 3 to 4 times a week. The amount of income spent at our facility catering lunches started to build up, and I couldn't believe how it would all entail. As this encounter continued, I asked my staff if this was part of the norm, and they had responded to me that this was a practice of scheduling recurrent lunches almost every day of the week had continued on for the 5+ years that they had worked in that facility. It's moments like this that made me reflect on how our healthcare system is truly broken and why our profession has deviated away from its mission. How is it fair that my staff is catered lunches every single day from a different representative when just the day before I was speaking to a patient about them having to ration their medications because of the financial circumstances they found themselves in? That's what today's presentation is about, and I'm fortunate to present this bill before you all today. Today, I'm here to present on Senate Bill 203, which aims to ban the practice of pharmaceutical gifts in the clinical settings. I will start by going over some of the bill language, followed by a background on pharmaceutical gifts and the trends that we have seen nationwide on this public health issue. Senate Bill 203 is an act relating to pharmacy. It seeks to prohibit a drug manufacturer from the practice of offering or giving gifts to a practitioner. This bill requires a wholesaler or manufacturer to submit to certain reporting requirements, which I will touch point on specifically later. But in general, we're seeking to address a widespread issue that has persisted throughout this entire country. Section 2 of this bill prohibits a wholesaler or manufacturer of certain drugs, medicines, chemicals, devices, or appliances, or agent thereof from offering or giving a gift to a practitioner, or otherwise directly or indirectly arranging, facilitating, or serving as a conduit for such a gift. Section 2 provides that certain items and expenditures, including certain expenditures for education, medical or scientific purposes, or purpose relating to policy, do not constitute as gifts for the purpose. In 2022, a statewide poll from the Impact Research and Mailman Group on behalf of the Consumers for Quality Care found that voters see high out-of-pocket costs as the biggest issues in healthcare. Generally, a wide majority of voters in this state agree that the cost of healthcare are increasing and that elected officials should be responsive to these growing concerns. If you look at this chart provided by the report that was collected from Nevada voters in 2022, it shows that a significant portion of our voter base agrees that out-of-pocket costs in healthcare are too high. And similarly, when asking voters on their viewpoints of the general healthcare system within our state, many voters shared their frustration toward the inner workings of how the system is currently ran. Most notably, there was a significant net strongly somewhat agree for some of the statements mentioned in the survey, including, "I am frustrated by the out-of-pocket prescription drugs that I have to pay." Let me just pause here and take a quick minute. This is the same encounter that I have started off this presentation with. and it's no surprise that there's a recurrent theme. For decades, medical marketing in the United States is a problem that has been highlighted by many medical advocacy groups across this country. In a recent report released by the Journal of the American Medical Association, from 1997 through 2016, spending on medical marketing of drugs, disease awareness campaigns, and health services increased from $17 billion to nearly $30 billion. Specifically, marketing to healthcare professionals by pharma companies accounted for the most promotional spending, which accounted for around $20.3 billion. And prior to this presentation, I spent some time reading a few of the peer-reviewed research articles on the influence of marketing and psychology for our medical providers. And this isn't the first time that we've talked about this. We've seen this, of course, exacerbated through the outlook of the opioid pandemic. The way that I actually came to learn about this issue is there's a really good documentary on Netflix called The Pharmacist about how a provider recognized in his hometown of the kickbacks that his physician were experiencing in the early 2000s and how that practice essentially exacerbated the opioid crisis. And in several of the articles that have been published, there is an established correlation between the behaviors exhibited by physicians prescribing and marketing efforts contributing to the irrational prescribing of the company's drug. Further, it's been widely established that pharmaceutical companies spend billions of dollars annually to ensure that physicians most susceptible to marketing prescribe the most expensive, most promoted drugs of the most possible. That has been established by several peer-reviewed articles. That's not from me. That has already been reviewed by several advocacy organizations throughout this country. Here's a quote from the conclusion section that was included in the American Medical Association's, the Journal of the American Medical Association, which states the following. Medical marketing increased substantially from 1997 through 2016. Pharmaceutical marketing to health professionals accounted for most spending and remains high even with the new policies to limit industry influence. Despite the increase in marketing over 20 years, regulatory oversight remains limited. And that was just released just a few short years ago. And so we've seen trends. I think in general, states have been open to considering this type of legislation, and it's part of a conversation we've had internationally. In 2019, the International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Associations, or commonly known as the IFPMA, updated its policy to restrict and forbid all gifts and goodies handed out by prescription drug makers. In the press release, the leaders of the IFPMA mentioned that the ban reflects the industry's commitment towards the general concern that the promotional items trivialize the important professional relationship that must exist between medical reps and healthcare professionals. And by the way, just for people who are interested on who's a part of the members of this international group, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, Bio, these are some of the several other affiliates that are members of the IFPMA. If you're like me, the thought you're probably having right now is probably the same question I originally had, which is this a recent change or have states enacted similar legislation before? Let's be clear. States around the country have set this precedent already for us, and Nevada would join other states with similar practices and laws. And the reason actually why this came to fruition of how I came to this bill was I went to an NCSL conference, and I was speaking to other legislators. This healthcare conference was specifically for the healthcare leaders around this country. So it was all the lawmakers that served in their HHS respective committees. And it was this bill was actually recommended to me by a Republican lawmaker from a state that had already done this. And so one of the instances that you can see, most recently we had Vermont. For instance, in 2019, the Office of the Attorney General sent out a notice mentioning Vermont's ban on gifts and requires manufacturers of prescribed products to register with the Attorney General's office. Going back even further, Massachusetts enacted their regulations back in 2009 when they first ordered pharmaceutical and medical device manufacturers to adopt and comply with the Marketing Code of Conduct. During its original inception, Massachusetts required the disclosure of payments to covered recipients within certain thresholds. Let me just pause and say, what we've seen nationally is the leading healthcare providers, Hopkins, Brigham, with the Harvard institutions, the national medical organizations have already committed to doing this. And there's actually, if you look back at some of the recent articles that have existed, even in Massachusetts, where they have tried to lessen the burden, of course, of what the ban was first instituted, you have an outlash of medical students and providers saying, no, do not do this. Like, we like the ban. It has shown to us that we can build trust between the institutions together. And so that is actually what we've seen over the long term of how that ecosystem plays out. And of course, we have Minnesota, who has led the way in this subject area. In 1993, the Minnesota Legislature passed a law that limits the number of gifts by pharmaceutical manufacturers. Initially, the main reason I added these slides was to rid any notion that these regulations would force business elsewhere. When the original laws were enacted by these states, there was a sentiment by the industry that tightened rules would in some way hamstring the local clinical trial research economy and lead to perverse economic consequences. It's clear to me that these consequences didn't rise to the level of severity that they documented, and instead it's now been uplifted by international pharmaceutical groups as a leading practice. And before I conclude, I would be remiss not to talk about Nevada. Last June, the Division of Health and Human Services released their drug transparency report, which rather than showing you the national data points, I think it's important to show you what's happening here at home. In 2021, the total amount spent by pharmaceutical representatives in Nevada for food and beverage was around $3 million. You can see that the graph in the chart that I have obviously has a lesser value for 2020. That's because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Folks weren't going into offices regularly. And if we look at this chart, we can see a breakdown of compensation by recipient type. And I want to point to the committee members toward the bottom of the graph. In 2021, $1.3 billion of compensation by pharmaceutical representatives was spent on office staff. That's the situation that I explained to you in the beginning that I was personally experiencing. And in that similar respect, $680,000 was spent on other healthcare providers and another $375,000 on other non-healthcare providers. At the start of this presentation, I shared with you my personal sentiment and what I had experienced as a health administrator. I detailed for you my guilt with these encounters, especially knowing the circumstances that my patients had went through with the affordability of their drug prescriptions. This is a data that aligns with my personal experience. This is my rationale for why we're here today, and I hope that you can understand why this plays down as a public health issue. Ultimately, as healthcare professionals, we collectively recognize the importance of protecting the integrity of our healthcare delivery system. And I was reading an article recently, and I think a really good quote to end this presentation is from Dr. Stephen Brown, who's from the University of Arizona College of Medicine. And he mentioned that the high cost of prescription drugs in the United States is a major public health challenge. The high cost is driven by prescribing of expensive brand name medications, which is influenced heavily by the marketing or the spending of billions of dollars to market directly to physicians. It is the professional responsibility of a provider to promote social justice, commit to a just distribution of finite resources, prioritize patient welfare, and to not compromise integrity with conflicts of interest. And that itself is the direct premise of Senate Bill 203. Chair Spearman, that concludes my remarks today, and I'm happy to entertain any questions from your committee members. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions? Committee? Senator Stone?
Good morning, Senator Donace, and thank you for bringing this forward. I really support the spirit of what you're trying to do. I just worry about it being a little bit overly broad. I agree with you that providers should not be getting, trips to Hawaii and golfing green fees and watches, and because that's, I think, an inappropriate inducement for a doctor to write a prescription, or a dentist for that matter. And I particularly don't care for the way pharma markets their pharmaceuticals directly to the consumer on television. I don't know why anybody would want to be prescribed those medications after hearing all the warnings that we see on television that they're required to do. But I also know that, and you know this, that the doctors in Nevada are in short supply. Registered nurse practitioners are in short supply. And so their time is limited. They're seeing patients. And so if you have a drug detail person that is coming out with a state-of-the-art new drug for hypertension, for a thyroid disorder, I personally don't have an issue if they bring in lunch as a effort to get time with a physician and get their attention with their ancillary staff that helps propagate the prescriptions. I assume the way your bill is written, that it would prevent a company from coming in and providing a pizza for them to learn about a new drug that's on the market that could be revolutionary to help patients. And I'm not sure what the other avenue would be for a physician that already has limited time to learn about this drug and begin prescribing it. So maybe you can address that.
Thank you so much, Senator Stone. Senator Doñate, for the record. So in Section 2, it does allow for the provision of coffee, snacks, refreshments, or other items with a combined retail value of less than $50. That is what other states have also passed. We are in discussions. You will hear today sentiments of whether that is a little bit too low, and so we're gonna, if there is an amendment, we would consider adjusting that. You are correct. I think that in general, I mean, the notion that, you know, and this is something that I personally experience with my own providers, which is they are really busy. They have back-to-back appointments, and oftentimes the lunch hour is the time where they can speak. I have no problem with pharmaceutical reps speaking to my my provider. The question that comes into play is what you mentioned, which is, are there certain gifts or things that are happening outside of the standard norm, and to what extent is too much? I think what I have provided, at least in this bill, is, you know, I actually do believe that we should be having the distribution or the dissemination of scientific information. I think my provider needs to be updated on the state-of-the-art information that's being delivered, on the new drugs that are coming to the market that are more effective than what we have seen before. Of course, what we've seen in the data points, which is what I detailed in the peer-reviewed research articles, is oftentimes the most confusion part is if there's already a medication that is available as generic, but the pharmaceutical representative, because they have a good relationship with the physician, they want to continue the brand name. I think that's something that, you know, has played out, at least in the peer-reviewed research area. But at least for my goal, to summarize, I think the dissemination of information as you related is something that I do not feel should be prohibited, and that's why that's part of this bill as well. And if that is a sentiment to increase the value, I think that is something that I'm amenable to.
Thank you. If I can just follow up, I support the spirit of what you're trying to do. I think it's great. And then I want to bring up the issue of biologics. You know, there's a lot of companies coming out with biologics. While they're expensive, they're a lot less expensive than the biologics they're trying to emulate, if you will. So many times the doctors will get a lunch, if you will, that is describing something that is going to be much less expensive for a patient too. So there are some benefits to it. So what I might suggest to you, and I've kind of learned how inflation has had the effect on fast foods, because I'm living as a bachelor up here, and I get tired at working in here until 8:30 at night, and I'll stop by, and the average cost for a burrito or a hamburger these days is about $15, you know, with a drink. So what you may want to consider, and I'm happy to work with you on this, is maybe a $50 floor or $15 per person that is attending the presentation, whichever is more. I think that might accomplish what you're trying to accomplish and make sure that none of these other gifts are given. I would love to work with you on that if you're so inclined. Thank you.
Senator Daley, then Senator Scheibel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I can say, Senator, I support the bill more than just in spirit. But just, I want to get on the record, and I know it says it in, I think it's Section 3, Sub 2, where the board has to post the report that's given if somebody is doing an honorarium and various things. Just want to confirm and make sure so that it's on the record that the only portion of that report that would be confidential is anything that might disclose proprietary or confidential business information. Everything else needs to be public. I know there's often some confusion and people try to hide the ball more than they think, so I would like that on the record if you can confirm that.
Thank you so much, Senator Doñate, for the record. That's correct. That's how the bill is written currently. I will say to the reporting requirements, that is part of that you might see an amendment before the bill gets work session. That is something that has been brought up in terms of, as you may know, federally, we have passed the Sunshine Act, which already does requirements to CMS, and so the actual reporting requirements might be changed, but you are correct in terms of your statement.
I just wanted to clarify that I'm understanding the enforcement mechanism. And it kind of looks to me like it's modeled after what we have to do as elected officials. And I just want to confirm I'm understanding correctly that basically the enforcement mechanism is that a pharmaceutical company that operates in Nevada would have to submit this report that says, I went to, Dr. Donyate's office and had a lunch or received an honorarium of this amount. I went to Dr. Spearman's office and we gave them these XYZ promotional materials and, so on and so forth. What you're not doing is, for example, where you work at a primary care facility, if a pharmaceutical rep comes in and says, hey, Mr. Donyate, I'd like to schedule lunch with you. You're not going to turn around and call the pharmacy board and say, hey, there's a representative here violating the law. Come and arrest them.
Thank you so much, Senator Donyate, for the work. That's correct. So that's how the bill is structured for the enforcement. And they already have to report because I presented the data of what was presented for the state, at least in the last year. So that is my intention of the bill.
Thank you. If they're coming to Dr. Spearman's office, we need to talk about energy. Anyone else? Senator Donate, do you have anyone else that's going to present with you? Okay. So at this time, we will take testimony in support, and I'd like to limit each round to 17 minutes. And so if someone has already said what you want to say, then please just say ditto so we can get to the last bill of the day. Okay? Is there anyone in Las Vegas in support? Okay, we'll come back to Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Chelsea Capurro here on behalf of the Health Services Coalition. First, we just want to thank the sponsor for bringing this. From our standpoint, we are always striving to keep the quality of healthcare high and the cost low, and we think this is a good step to accomplish both of those goals. So, thank you.
Anyone else? BPS, anyone on the phone?
You would like to testify in support of SB 103. Please press star 9 now to take your place. The public line is open and working. There are no callers.
Thank you. We'll come back up here to Carson City.
Morning, Chair. Sorry I was a bit late to the table. For the record, Tess Opferman here on behalf of AFSCME retirees and the Nevada Women's Lobby. We appreciate any measure to try to look at drug costs and keep in check the high costs of drugs, especially pharmaceutical medicine. And for that, we're in full support of the bill and are grateful to Senator Donyatte for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Carson City, Las Vegas? Seeing none. Anyone in opposition here in Carson City, please come to the table. Anyone in opposition in Las Vegas, come to the table.
Madam Chair, Rocky Finsath with Career Nevada here today representing Pharma. Good morning. We appreciate the conversations that we've had with Senator Donyatte concerning this bill. He's been very engaging with the industry prior to coming into session. We do have some concerns with the bill, and we are happy to work with him to square the concerns up. Some of them have been mentioned already. We are largely regulated through federal statutes, including the FDA and the Sunshine Act. In addition, Pharma has its own code of conduct that all companies agree to for interaction with healthcare professionals. And finally, our company representatives receive extensive training about their company's medicines and various conditions for medical treatment. I do appreciate Senator Donyatte highlighting the out-of-pocket costs in the survey work. We too believe out-of-pocket costs are too high. That is, as many of you know, that is largely an insurance plan design that we have talked to each of you individually about. So we do think relative to that issue, which is not contained in this particular measure, we're happy to work with you those issues. So we stand in opposition, but we're happy to work with the senator to try to square the bill up to meet our concerns.
Thank you. Anyone else here in Carson City? Las Vegas? BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 203, press *9 now to take your place in the
Hi, good morning. Is this testimony in support or opposition? I thought we had moved to opposition.
Opposition?
Okay. My testimony is neutral, sorry.
Hi, I apologize, Chair Spearman. I have testimony in support. Do you mind if I go ahead and give that?
Okay. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Thank you, Chair Spearman and the committee. My name is Shelby Swartz, and I'm the Development Manager of Battleborn Progress. I am in strong support of SB 203, and I'm so appreciative of Senator Fabian Donate for bringing this bill to your committee. Patients in Nevada deserve to know that those prescribing their medications are doing so because it's in their best interest and not because the pharmaceutical company bought them lunch or a paid trip. This bill will allow patients to feel confident in their health care and to trust their providers. As a pregnant person, this bill will allow me to feel secure that my provider is putting me and my baby first, not which pharma company bought them the nicest gift. I urge you to support SB 203, and again, I thank Senator Donate for putting patients first.
Thank you, BPS. Anyone else in opposition?
Yes, my name is Leslie Quinn, and I wasn't sure if I should come in as support or opposition. But what I'd like to say is, having been on the pharmaceutical side as well as in the medical side, I have seen the reps come in and do exactly what Senator Donate is saying. And I also have been a pharmaceutical rep, and in that, I've had the people in the office not just say, just leave the food here, and not even allow me to see the doctor that I was supposed to bring whatever drug it was to them. Obviously, and sometimes the generic is actually a better product than even the brand name, as you may know, or I know Senator Stone would know that. So in any case, some of the things that I would like to see amended on this is the removal on page 2, line 26, item E, also line 33, items G, with its sections 1, 2, and 3, and on page 3, line 11, I believe it's item K, on the royalty and licensing. That is just to eliminate the compensations or being hidden in any way, shape, or form to the physicians and the entities. I really appreciate, again, Senator Donate for bringing this to light, because it's important that those drugs get out there and the information get out there, but it's also important that the office staff not be allowing only pharmaceutical reps that are buying the lunches that they want. And in fact, that actually did happen. If I didn't go to a specific restaurant and bring certain foods, I was not going to be able to speak with the doctor. So thank you very much. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
BPS, anyone else on the phones?
Hi, Jamie Cogburn on behalf of the Nevada Justice Association. I tried to get in the queue for the support, but I think there were some issues on my end or with the system. The Nevada Justice Association is in support of this bill. We think it brings transparency and ensures that doctors are not unduly influenced by other things, and the medicine relies upon itself for the protection of the patients. Again, I appreciate Senator Donate bringing this forward. Thank you.
BPS, anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we will.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and
Okay, continue.
good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Paul Cathode, that's spelled C-A-T-H-A, also testifying in support and had difficulty getting through. In the interest of, I'm representing the Culinary Workers Union Local 226. In the interest of time, I'll just say that we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone
There
else?
are no callers choosing to testify at this. There are no callers choosing to testify at this.
Okay, thank you. And BPS, just before we go to the phones in the next round, if you'll just remind everyone who is a caller to pay attention. I think they have to raise their hand so they can get in on the appropriate either opposition or support. Okay, so just make the verbal announcement to the callers. Okay, we'll go now to those in neutral. Here in Carson City, in Las Vegas. BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to testify in neutral to SB 203, please press *9 now to take your place in. Public line is open and working. There are no callers at this.
Thank you. Senator Donate, closing remarks. Okay. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 203. We'll open the hearing on Senate Bill 275. Revises provisions relating to manufacturing home parks. Senator Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Skip Daly, representing Senate District 13 in Northern Nevada. And this particular bill was brought to my attention by a constituent I have here with me today, and she'll give her testimony, and I think her written testimonies on Nellis. So just real quick, a little background. Manufactured housing was meant to try to address affordable housing as far back as the late 70s. So as you know, people that people in mobile home parks, they own the housing, but they rent the space, which creates a unique relationship between them, the owner of the house and the mobile home park. So there's restrictions. They can't just pick up their house and move, various things. So there's a lot of tension that comes along with if rents are raised up quickly, as you'll hear in some of the testimony. So that relationship doesn't give the homeowner very many options. They can't move, and I know there's already law that says if a mobile home park is sold or closed down, that they have to help those mobile home owners move. The problem with that is some of these homes are older, and they simply can't be moved. New parks won't take, or other parks won't take them if they don't meet certain standards, and it just is impossible, despite the attempts that we've made. And as we've seen in housing across the country, there's more of a corporatization of the housing in this country, and as that happens, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not against capitalism, but I also am against heartless capitalism. People are only looking at the bottom line and really don't look at the effects they have on the underlying people. So the people that we're talking about here in these mobile home parks are often seniors, single income. They're the most vulnerable people, least able to adjust unless they get some help from the legislature, which is why we brought this bill. So real quick, if we can walk through the bill, I think it will go. So Section 2 of the bill basically provides a definition on what the maximum annual rent increase can be. Section 3 defines or specifies what the calculation is to find out what the maximum rent increase can be, requires the Nevada Housing Division to make that calculation and then publish it on the website and do a press release. Section 4 provides for an exemption for a mobile home park operator to say there are additional costs, the maximum increase is potentially going to cause them to go out of business. So there's an application process where they can request for an increase that's above the cap to do that. And then Section 6 says that the cap doesn't apply to pass-through costs, if I'm reading it correctly, and then defines what a pass-through cost is. If they actually are saying, hey, we're covering the sewer and the water and garbage pickup, if those costs increase, it's a pass-through and the cap wouldn't apply to those types of expenses. I am working on an amendment. I didn't have it in time for you today. I sent it to the Nevada Housing Division to try to adjust the fiscal note, and the other change that we would like to make, or I'm hoping to make, would be the effective date rather than January, at least move it up to July. I did speak with LCB on that, and there's no rule or anything why it had to be January. It was anticipation to try to give time for the regulations, but right now we have a moratorium, so I think July 1st is the date that we would prefer and move forward with. With that, I asked a constituent to come and give her testimony, and then we have people in support, and then after she goes, Janelle goes, we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair and council members, committee members. I'm a little nervous.
We're just people.
I
It's
know.
okay.
I know, it is kind of difficult sometimes. It's because we are so emotionally disturbed by what has happened. Did I give you my name? My name is Janelle Marzan, and I am a
Can you spell your last name, please?
Marzan. It's like Tarzan with an M.
Thank you.
Okay. I am a resident of Sierra Senior Mobile Home Park, Manufactured Home Park, and I've been there for 10 years. And I selected this particular park in my home because it's a lovely community, and financially, of what had taken place over a course of the past 5 years, which is recognized in NRS that needs to be provided when you move into a manufactured home park. The costs and so forth had been reasonable. I'm going to try to make this brief because I have submitted my written testimony that you do have. However, I wanted to point out just a couple of things that were not addressed in that. The previous owners of our park had owned it for many, many years, and all the increases in our space rent over the course of 10 years was pass-through charges only. Obviously, they were making enough money that that's all they felt that they needed to do, and they were very fair, knowing we were all seniors. Most of us are in our mid-70s and older. So this is kind of our last probably home, and I've seen it over the course of 10 years. It keeps you very humble on your mortality, believe me. So anyway, I want to especially thank Senator Daley. When I approached him, he was welcoming with the thoughts of what was happening to us. And in a very short period of time, we developed a great phone relationship. And I really, and all of us that are here today, and the 151 homes that are in our park, are so thankful, not to him, but also to the committee and you, Madam Chair, to give us the opportunity to speak today, because in the state of Nevada, there are 400 manufactured home parks with a population close to 40,000 people. And 90 of those home parks are in Las Vegas, Clark County, and 60 plus are in Washoe County. And we, and a few homes I heard coming in today, speaking to one of the assembly members, it's been happening there as well. But in a very short period of time, there are going to be many of us that are going to probably be either driven out of our homes, we can't afford them, and with all the other costs that are going on, which is part of the world we live in today, but we thought we were protecting ourselves by being responsible purchasers of our homes and where we pick to live. And quite frankly, the legislature is our lifeline because we have nowhere else we can go to ask for the help that is required to maintain reasonable costs, granted, for the park owners. We're not saying they shouldn't make money. We're not saying that, but we feel that there is a reasonable cost. When you purchase a home, you have a certain amount that you find that you can afford. You get a mortgage rate that is a fixed rate unless you decide to go to a variable. And so you trust that what you have partnership with that organization, that you can comfortably stay in your home as long as you can make your payment as it was agreed upon. If your mortgage was sold to another company and your mortgage lender came to you and said, well, I'm sorry, we bought your mortgage and your interest rate is going to go up another 3%. That's how we feel, is we have no control over what's happening to us. And I implore the legislature to please look at this closely and hopefully support this bill because it is in dire need. Thank you.
Senator Downey, have any additional presenters?
No, we'll just have people that come and support, but no one else to present.
Committee, questions? So I just have one. There is a certain amount that you pay for rent.
Yes.
And you paid that all along. And then suddenly, there's another amount, there's a fee, something tacked on.
What has happened is the way that it's structured in mobile home parks, we have our homes that we own, and we pay our own costs. The park incorporated in our space rent, they pass through to us their prorated property taxes for the park other than the community areas. They pass through the water, they pass through the pickups, they pass through any utilities and so forth. So unfortunately, I've been in great conversation with Nevada Housing. We have great regulations for manufactured homes. However, there has never been an address to how much space rent can be increased, because when you look at it, the renters of the dirt, so to speak, take care of probably 75–80% of all the costs pertain to that manufactured home park. So they come in, and it's going to be said, and I want to give other people opportunity because we have some wonderful expert witnesses here too that can give you better than I can. But what has happened is our park was bought by a major investment company. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to disparage who they are. I think I've got it written down there somewhere. And in the course of them purchasing the park, they raised the space rent from, which we're currently paying $790, and I think you can see that's a fairly good price for seniors and whatever to pay. And in a course of a day, any of the homes that are up for sale now, the space rent is going to be $1,010 a month. That's 27% increase with no reason other than they looked at an RV park that was next to us and decided, because they pay $1,600 a month for people to go in and out, that was a good comparison to put on us. Our sister park, the experts are going to share this with you, which I was horrified. was $600 a month, and they raised it automatically to $1,045 a month, which is a 75% increase. The formula that was put together, I didn't mean I was going to talk this long, but the formula that was put together, my background affords me the ability to do great research, so I did. And the rent stabilization factor that was put forth is utilized and has been successfully utilized, and I've got the paperwork, but there was too much, say, with our sister state, California, 100 different counties and cities within California are using this rent stabilization, including areas like Palm Springs and Malibu. So I guess if they can consider that okay for there, I hope we consider it okay for here.
If I can go ahead and try to add to that. So, Madam Chair, as you know, the homes, the manufactured home is bought by the person and owned by the person. Where they park that is owned by somebody else. So you have to have a mobile home park, various things, unless you buy your own land and put your mobile home park on that. And we've all seen some of those areas. If you're from northern Nevada, Sun Valley has a lot of spaces where you buy the land. So then you're not subject to this increase on the land. But if you go to a regular mobile home park, it's owned by somebody else, and yes, they are able to raise the rent without any controls the way it is now. And then, like I said, you see the corporatization and you see some of these things, they're using whatever factors they want to do. There's no limitation. Like I said, these people are on fixed income, senior citizens, single income most of the time, and without some help from the legislature, the most vulnerable people there are going to be pushed out of these places. So that's why we're trying to address this issue.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lang?
Thank you. So you don't, when you move into a mobile home park, you don't get a contract, a renter's contract that goes for a certain amount of time, or because obviously if you have a mobile home, you're going to live there for an extended period of time. You're not going to be mobile and move all around like RV parks.
Right.
So you don't get an extended contract. It's month to month, year to year.
It's a month to month. And because the statutes have no requirements on how they can raise the rent or when they can raise the rent, they could raise it every 3 months if they wanted to, at any percentage and amount they want to. So right now, we're at peril in some ways because they know that we have stepped forward with this, which I don't think anybody expected us to, and so, and are writing new leases. So I expect, because we could very well be handed a piece of paper next week that says our space rent's going to be $1,200 a month, and there's nothing that can keep them from doing that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator Stone?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I used to own a number of manufactured homes in California before I came here, so I'm kind of familiar with the issue. But I own the land and I own the mobiles, but I was aware of mobile home parks where you had space rentals. But I was under the understanding, though, that you were often given, when you put your mobile home on a lot that you're paying space rental for, a long-term lease, 3 years, 5 years. Is that not the standard of practice anymore?
No, because the parks that we live in are...
State your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Janelle Marzan. And the parks that we live in, the homes are there already. So it's like, you go out in the real estate market and you're looking for a home. You're not buying constructed homes. You're buying homes that have already been built. So these parks, most of them that we have in our area that have been here for a very long time, are already established. So you're purchasing homes that people are putting up for sale. So you get a month-to-month rental agreement. They probably could make a lease, but I think the standard has been month-to-month rental. And again, if anyone's familiar, and I'm sure you are, rental agreements month-to-month for anybody can be changed at any time. And so that is what we're living with. And again, I want to give enough time for all these other wonderful people that came here, especially some of the folks that drove from our park early this morning. And we just really, I can't tell you how much we appreciate being here. And we really, really need your help.
Madam Chair, if I can follow up
Yes.
just briefly. So when you purchase a home, even if it's old, you're weighing the risk, if you will, of buying that home and knowing you're going into a month-to-month agreement. I don't know if I would be too excited about that myself, knowing that you're at the mercy of a space owner, or a park owner, that can, it's not, you just can't hitch the mobile home on the back of your truck and say, I'm going to go move it next door. We're talking about a large mobile home that, if it's a 60s or 70s era, may fall apart when you even move it. So I understand the plight. I do understand that. But let me, if I can ask the author, many times when investors buy these parks, they base it on a cap rate, right, which is basically a return on investment, and many times they will leverage them. And at the higher price, they're paying for higher property taxes, they're paying for higher insurance. Many times these older parks need to have infrastructure, their main sewer line can be broken, needs to be modified. So you have, as a part of this formula, 60% of the CPI, which I think in Nevada was about 6.5 points plus. Are we not asking the park owners to potentially take a loss if they're not even getting what would be the consumer price index for the state of Nevada, understanding that they have some issues, and certainly going from $600 a month to $1,045 is not CPI, right? But I'm concerned where you got the 60% figure and why you didn't give a full CPI so that they can fully recover their costs if necessary.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Skip Daly again, representing Senate District 13. And we will talk with the people when they come up in opposition if there needs to be something there on that. I haven't heard a counteroffer similar to what another presenter said earlier. I haven't heard from the opposition in that regard. But to your point on, hey, they bought the park, maybe it needed this, they should have done their due diligence. They knew what they were getting into as well. And in these two particular parks that are in my district, for a very long time, they were owned by the Helms family. If you're from northern Nevada, you know the name. They were a construction company, was in business for a long time. Where the Sparks Marina is now was their pit. And long term, they took care of the park. They did the stuff. They knew what type of people they were catering to. They were very fair. So maybe some people got a false sense of that security. And then, like I said, with the corporatization, it really doesn't matter other than the bottom line, and we're going to go to the best rate of return. And if people are impacted, unfortunately, I don't think that they care. Heartless landlords, corporations, we're the only ones that can help the people that are in this situation now.
Thank you. Additional questions? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Marzan.
I'm just sorry, Jill Marzan. I would just like to make a comment back, Senator. Yes, we did know what we were getting into when we purchased our homes, but we felt very secure in doing so based on the history of where we did our due diligence. So it wasn't done just because. And our homes, by the way, they may be in the 70s, but if you ever have the opportunity to come to Sparks and drive through our beautiful little community, our homes are well maintained. We've upgraded them. We have a wonderful senior community. So, okay, thanks.
Thank you. So first of all, Senator Daly, mindful of what Ms. Marzan said in terms of retaliation, and I would admonish those who may consider it that there is an NRS that governs retaliatory actions. It's NRS 1118. I'm sorry, NRS 1188. Is that 8? Yeah. Help. 118B. Okay. need some more glasses. So one of the things that I know, and I know that in this era, especially with a lot of homes being purchased by investors, and the cost of housing went up astronomically, and we had basically the same thing happening with apartment complexes, and before we took some action, people were being priced out of their homes, and I have friends and some relatives who are on fixed income. After a certain age, you realize that there's more behind you than there is in front of you. And so it's important to be prudent with your resources. So I would just say that, part of investing, smart investing, is calculating your ROI before you put your money down. That's not a question, it's just a statement. 18B. 118B. 118B. 118.20. We'll get it. We'll get it when I can read it. We'll get it. But the basic thing is, to those of you who are here and are living in a mobile home park, if you are retaliated against, I would encourage you to contact your senator, who can then contact our legal folks and see. And I saw a sticker on the back of someone's window one time that said, "I saw that karma." You got anybody else? Okay, thank you. So we'll go now to those in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Thank you for hearing SB 275 relating to manufactured home parks. First of all, I'd just like to thank Senator Daly for bringing this bill. This is something we're very passionate about. My name is Todd Anderson. I'm the founder and the president of White Knight Homes of Nevada. We are the largest used manufactured home dealer in northern Nevada. Along with being licensed as the dealer for White Knight, I'm also licensed as a real estate agent and for one of the few licensed manufactured home appraisers in the state of Nevada. White Knight has been in business for over 18 years. We have been in business longer than any other company in the industry. We have sold over 2,000 manufactured homes and counting. We have an outstanding relationship with the Manufactured Housing Division, and we have been the pioneers in the industry. As of December 2022, the corporations who have bought these two parks, Donner Springs, which is a family park, and Sierra Royal that they were speaking of, which is a senior park, they had raised, as they mentioned, the senior park went from $790 a month to $1,010, a 27% increase. Donner Springs went from $600 to $1,045, which was a 74% increase. These drastic increases in space rent have had a significant impact on our industry. If something doesn't get done immediately to stabilize rent in these communities, I'm afraid the residents in these parks will not be able to recover. This not only hurts myself as a small business owner, my staff, and businesses like me, but more importantly, the residents that live in these communities. The increase has drastically impacted the resale value of these properties by halting home sales and driving home prices down at a very rapid rate. Once a potential buyer has found out about the increases in the space rents, they do not want to pursue purchasing in those homes. And what this is doing is driving the value of these homes down significantly. For example, in Donner Springs, we track a lot of things by price per square foot to get the appropriate value of a home. In Donner Springs, the price per square foot dropped by $11. An average traditional home, a most popular size home, is 1,440 square feet. So that homeowner is losing $16,000 of their principal or their investment that they have in their home. In Sierra Royal, which is a senior community, it's drastically worse. The price per square foot has dropped $38.88. So with that same size home, you're losing $56,000 in principal. So if you're a senior that lives in this park, your value has just dropped by $56,000 across the board.
Thank you.
Because of this.
Thank you, sir. Will you please submit the rest of your testimony in writing?
Sure.
Please, okay. Hold on just a minute. Is there anyone down south that's going to testify in support? How many other people here in Carson City in support? Okay. Yeah, so let's go to 2.5 minutes each so everybody can get their turn. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. And I should have said that earlier. I'm still kind of, Miss Marzan, you messed my day up. Okay, that's all right. Okay, it's okay. Okay, yeah, good way. Yeah, okay. So thank you. So 2.5 minutes.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Harrison. I am the Director of Sales and Corporate Officer for White Knight Homes in Nevada. Just going to start off by saying I love my job, best job I've ever had in my life, and I'm very passionate about this. So the people that I sell to generally, individuals, families, but mainly seniors. It's people on a fixed income. The average salary in Reno for our clientele is $47,000 a year and under. That's less than $3,300 a month net, okay? And when everybody wants to be a homeowner. And if you're paying $1,000 or more in space rent, that doesn't leave you any money for a mortgage and just general living expenses. For our seniors who only collect retirement Social Security, their average income in Reno is less than $1,600 a month. When space rent is increased to $1,010, that doesn't leave room for their mortgage either. As it has been mentioned, these homes are considered personal property. And they're not attached to the land. Therefore, they don't qualify for traditional lending. There are only 3 lenders in the area who will loan on used manufactured homes, and they're not even local. They're all out of state. The typical interest rate for our homes are between 8 and 14%. They're considered high-risk loans because they're still have their wheels and axles and could be moved at any time. Some of them aren't in the condition to be moved anymore, but that is the reality for our lenders. So we have a higher interest rate. And the max that our lenders will do is 25 years. With our senior parks, the average age in Sierra Royal is 70 and over. When our lenders use the IRS single life expectancy table, what this does is this reduces the term for their mortgage loan that's available to them. 75 years old, your max term is going to be 12 years. So with that, you've got a higher interest rate, you've got a shorter term, and your mortgage payment alone is going to be more than the typical young person buying a home. And then once you add on that 1,010 space rent, it's no longer affordable living for anyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you submit the rest of your testimony, please? In writing, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Tiffany Ligori. I'm the office manager at White Knight Homes of Nevada. Being in the office handling all the communication, we've seen a huge impact due to the increase in space rent. I provided the pages for you, but just since we started tracking it, we've had numerous responses from people stating that it is just way too much. They don't even want to see the homes anymore. I'll skip the quotes in respect for your time since you have them there. But historically, manufactured homes have been known as an affordable alternative for those who can't afford or possibly can't qualify for a stick-built home, and with the raise in space rent, even those are becoming out of reach. As Jennifer touched on earlier, for people needing financing, between their mortgage and space rent, people are paying on average $2,200 to $2,500 monthly. My fiance and I just bought a house, a stick-built house in Reno in the past year, and our mortgage, including taxes and insurance, is about $2,500. When the cost of living in a park becomes as expensive as a stick-built home, mobile home parks can no longer be classified as affordable living. As Senator Stone's aware, everything is getting exponentially more expensive, including fast food. It is no secret that the cost of living is raising at an astronomical rate compared to wages. Please consider how you would feel if this was happening to your parents, or what this looks like long-term when you may need an affordable living option one day. If stipulations are not put into place now, it can only get worse from here. I go into define the American dream, which you are all aware of. So I'm not going to do that here, but nobody dreams of paying rent their whole lives. By not implementing a structured rate in which space rent can be increased yearly, you are allowing major corporations to continue to profit at the expense of individuals who have paid taxes and saved money their whole lives. Those people are now in a position of not knowing how many years they may have left, and with this precious time being forced to fight corporate America for their existence. Our goal is to help the seniors and blue-collar workers in our community have the ability to live their version of the American dream, but we need your power to get this bill approved. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. You all can step back, and anyone else in support? There are 3 chairs coming open.
Chair, members of the committee, Jonathan Norman, Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers. I'm not going to take too much time because I think a lot of residents came here to tell their story, and I think they deserve the time. I would point out that this is buying of these mobile home parks is going to increase. There have been 800,000 purchases around the country by institutional investors of these parks. There are mobile home university and how-to books, and it's about squeezing every dollar out of these communities. So this is something that's going to just be increasing as we go. And I think it was, Ms. Marzan who pointed out that this is, personal property, which means when somebody can't pay their lot rent, and I think there was a handout from the folks at White Knight that pointed out most of these homes can't be moved. So what happens is the mobile home park is going to place a lien, and they are going to end up selling that property. And they're going to sell it to the next person, right? And then they can increase that. And, just in hearing how the increased lot rent has decreased the value of their homes, that is creating a windfall for the mobile home park. If somebody cannot pay and there's a lien placed on their personal property, and then that's foreclosed on. So I think it's really dire consequences for seniors and around the state. And I think this type of investing, if we don't put a stop to it now, is just going to increase. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Karen Luton, Louton. My husband Jerry and I have lived in the Sierra Royal Manufactured Home Park for 8.5 years, and we're pleased to be able to come before you today in support of SB 275. Saturday, I read an article in the RGJ citing an AP NORC poll, which found that approximately 1/2 of the adults in the United States making less than $60,000 are very stressed about their personal finances. And that definitely describes us, since our sense of housing security has now been taken away from us. You've heard the numbers, and it sounds to us like we're being put in the same category as the parks that these companies own in Arizona, Florida, where the active seniors go to retire, have more money, so on and so forth. Seems like that's what they think we are too, when most of the people here are seniors or lower wage earners. So we live in fear of what's next. We see things now being done in the park that were before done in-house. So we're worried, is that going to increase the pass-through costs? Plus the excessive rent that we are already going to get. Will it mean that we won't be able to sell our houses for a reasonable price if we feel we have to move? And it sounds like we're already experiencing that. So what will we do when we get this new rental agreement? What's it going to look like? Do we have any choice but to sign it? How much will our rent be? How long can we afford it? What happens if now we have a major medical situation, or our 10-year-old car dies? We've got nothing to put towards it anymore. We personally just had to replace our furnace and our AC. So that stretches us really thin already. So we're cutting back. No traveling, no eating out, no buying things that aren't a necessity. But still, is that going to be enough? What happens when we're forced out of our homes? Where can we go in this economy? And this is what we live with every day now. Our stress is up here, increasing medical costs because of the stress and so forth. So for these reasons, we just feel it's vitally important that the legislature recognize the impact of this bill on one of the last bastions of affordable housing in Nevada. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sir?
Good morning, Madam Chair, committee members. Thank you for this opportunity for me to speak along on behalf of myself and my wife. I won't go into the format of the own the home but not the space it occupies format. You are already aware. As residents, we were all notified mid-December last, just over 3 months ago. We received a hand-delivered single page of paper informing us of new park ownership effective immediately and instructions how to make the January space rent payment. That's what we were told. I'm the boss. Here's how you take care of me. No other information or format has been presented to us as residents since. This silence just breeds rumors, questions, and speculations about surcharges, amenities given or rescinded, and rent. And these concerns that we have are justifiable due to total silence on new ownership. We have no voice in these matters. And we feel SB 275 is our only assurance that rent increases can be absorbed as reasonable and are governed by law to prevent financial distress. We need your help. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, your name? Name and spelling, please.
My name is Reed Anderson. R-E-E-D, Anderson, S-O-N.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Darwin Dwayne Anderson, and Darwin is D-O-R-W-I-N, Dwayne, D-U-A-N-E, Anderson with an O. I'm a resident of the Sierra Royal Senior Manufacturing Home Park, and I thank you for our opportunity to speak. 7.5 years ago, my wife and I decided to move from a house up in the North Valleys because a combination of what 2008 did to my IRA and my deteriorating health. And the park here, they handle, all the things that I could no longer do. And we were able to pay cash for our home because of the sale of the house. And we've done some upgrading since then, depleted the extra money that we got from the sale of the house. And we've been there, as I say, 7.5 years. And we had looked into it before we moved there, and the owners had a good reputation, and when they suddenly sold it, were suddenly announced that they'd sold due to some financial problems they ran into. And the new owner, we haven't heard hardly anything from them. And I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Anyone else here in Carson City? Okay. We'll move now to testimony in opposition. I'm sorry. Anyone on the phone in support? Anyone on the phone in support?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 275, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the committee. My name is Paul Catha, that's spelled C-A-T-H-A, and I represent the Culinary Workers Union Local 226. The Culinary Union supports Senate Bill 275 because the union believes that Nevadans deserve neighborhood stability, and I want to thank Senator Daley for bringing the bill forward. Neighborhood stability policies like SB 275 are essential because longtime residents are being pushed out of their homes, senior citizens whose rent increases exceed monthly Social Security payments are forced to rely on taxpayer-funded assistance or are evicted. Saving up for a down payment can be an impossible hurdle for first-time homebuyers when their rents go up faster than the cost of living. The loss of stable families in a community results in student turnover in Nevada's public schools, increased pressure on students' mental health, and local businesses suffer when customers need to move or cut back on spending when rents go up faster than wages. In the 2022 survey of Culinary Union members, 21% said that the rent had gone up $500, 21% said that they are charged monthly fees in addition to rent, 15% said that they pay more than $100 in fees each month. Rent increases have outpaced wage growth. From the first quarter of 2019 through the second quarter of 2022, market rate rent in Las Vegas increased 33.1%, while average weekly earnings only grew 21.4%. In 2021, investors bought 18% of homes in the Las Vegas metro. In some areas of the metro, investor purchases accounted for as much as 26%, over a quarter of homes sold. According to the January Census Bureau's household pulse survey, 49.8% of adults in Nevada experienced difficulty paying for the usual household expenses in the last 7 days. Already, in the first week of 2023, Las Vegas had the most eviction filings among major U.S. cities. The Nevada Legislature needs to do something to ensure the Nevadans are not forced out of their neighborhoods as a result of rising rents. The Culinary Union urges the members of the committee to support and pass SB 275.
BPS?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Mindy Elliott, representing with Flynn Judici Government Affairs, representing the Nevada Housing Coalition. We certainly want to thank Senator Daley for bringing SB 275 to the attention of our legislative body. As we continue to have robust discussions about housing this session, the Nevada Housing Coalition would like to certainly make ourselves available to participate in any working group that Senator Daley identifies. Housing is a major issue, and rental stability is very important to all Nevadans. And we look forward to working with Senator Daley and any of the opponents of the bill as deemed necessary. We thank you for your time this morning and appreciate the opportunity to testify.
BPS, is there anyone else on the phones?
Caller, you can press star 6 to unmute.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello. My name is Nancy Patterson, and I would like to thank you, Madam Chair, and the Committee on Commerce and Labor for allowing me to phone in my support for SB 275, sponsored by Senator Skip Daley. I am an elderly person on a very small pension, and this bill would greatly benefit elderly residents like myself in manufactured home parks so that we have a place to live without fear of becoming homeless because we can't afford unreasonable space rents. Thank you again, Madam Chair and committee members and Senator Skip Daly for bringing SB 275 to this legislative session. I am supporting SB 275. Thank you.
Thank you. BPS, do we have any other callers?
The public line is open and working.
No other callers?
The public line is open and working. There are no callers.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go to opposition now. Anyone here in Carson City? I see someone at the table in Las Vegas. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Chair Spearman, members. Mackenzie Warren Kay with McDonald Carano on behalf of the Manufactured Home Community Owners Association this morning. I'd like to start, Chair Spearman, just addressing the comments about retaliation. The association, too, takes these incredibly seriously. So if any, Nevada tenant that's there or someone that's listening, not only contact your state representative, but reach out to either me personally or the MHCOA, the association. We're here in opposition in Senate Bill 275, but we want to recognize Senator Skip Daly for meeting with the association in advance to hear his motivation behind the bill and also to hear our concerns. Economists don't agree on much, but rent stabilization is one area where there is some consensus that rent stabilization policies may provide quick relief at the onset, but ultimately could lead to downstream economic consequences that harm housing markets. The answer here really is supply. So the more housing product we have for Nevadans to choose from, the more stable our rent prices become. The association's concern is SB 275 may make maintaining and investing in manufactured home communities less attractive, and ultimately that harms Nevadans and the tenants like Ms. Marzan that presented alongside Senator Daly this morning. These policies have a tendency to reduce supply because park owners may be disincentivized to continue operations, and those future park owners or prospective investors may look to other markets. Rent stabilization policies appear to help affordability in the short run for current tenants, but in the long run decreases affordability. Senator Daly and the association agree that manufactured home communities are a unique housing product, an attractive one, and a critical housing option for Nevadans. Our state needs more parks, not less. SB 275, while well-intended, could lead to fewer manufactured home communities. Thank you.
Thank you. BPS, is there anyone in opposition on the phones?
You would like to testify in opposition to SB 275, please press star 9 now to take your place. There are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
Thank you. Neutral. Anyone here in Carson City testifying neutral? Anyone in Las Vegas? BPS, anyone on the phone?
If you would like to testify in neutral to SB 275, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Thank you. Senator Daly? And I appreciate Ms. Mackenzie Warren for coming forward. I appreciate your comments. And in addition to that, I do have the correct bill or NRS statute. It's 118B 210. And I was wanting to know what the penalties are. Any landlord who violates any of the provisions of this chapter and any other person who violates NRS 118B.210. First violation, pay a civil penalty of $1,000. The second violation, civil penalty of not more than $2,500. For the third and subsequent violations, pay a civil penalty of not more than $5,000 for each violation. So we do have in Nevada revised statutes a retaliatory clause. And so before Ms. Mackenzie Warren, I appreciate your comments, and I don't know a lot about your job, so I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job. I'd just probably say to the members of the association, they might want to take a look at 210. Everybody is not crooked. I know that. There are a lot of good people that have got a lot of good intentions. But the statutes are created for those who do not have that type of North Star moral compass, shall I say. So I don't want to disparage the entire industry, but there may be one or two. And if they're thinking about that, then NRS 118B.210 opens up a can of act right. Senator Daley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very quickly, just want to thank Ms. Warren Kay for her testimony, willing to work with that. I don't want to change or trade one set of circumstance crisis for a long-term crisis on the other side. Things need to have balance. We do have a situation right now impacting people if there is not some type of stabilization. How that looks and affects long-term, let's have that discussion. But we can't ignore the here and now over something that might happen in the future. So let's try to find the balance and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 275 and open up public comment. Reminder to those who wish to participate in public comment, it is a time to take 2 minutes and speak about something other than any of the bills we've heard today. So is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to make public comment? Anyone in Las Vegas? BPS, anyone on the phones?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. The public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. And committee members and those of you who participated in the hearings this morning, whether you were in support or opposition or neutral, I want to thank you for participating in this civic activity, so we appreciate that. Thank you, committee members, and with that, we are now adjourned, and we'll see you on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Thank you.